Teachings of Lord Caitanya, the Golden Avatar, a treatise on factual spiritual life, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Chapter 30, The Transcendental Pastimes of Radha and Krishna. The difference between ordinary religious activities and devotional service is very great. By executing religious rituals, one can achieve economic development, sense gratification, or liberation, merging into the existence of the Supreme. But the results of transcendental devotional service are completely different from such temporary benefits. Devotional service of the Lord is evergreen, and it is increasingly transcendentally pleasing. Thus, there is a gulf of difference between the results derived from devotional service and those derived from religious rituals. The great divine energy known as Jadadishtatri, or Mahamaya, the superintendent of the material world, and the material departmental directors, the demigods, as well as the products of the external energy of the Supreme Lord, are but perverted reflections of the opulence of the Supreme Lord. The demigods are actually order carriers of the Supreme Lord, and they help manage the material creation. In the Brahma Samhita 5:44, 52, 49, it is stated that the workings of the supremely powerful superintendent Durga are but shadows of the workings of the Supreme Lord, that the sun works just like the eye of the Supreme Lord, and that Brahma works just like a jewel, reflecting the light of the Supreme Lord. Thus, in the material world, all the demigods, as well as the external energy herself, Durga Devi, and all the different departmental directors, are but servants of the Supreme Lord. In the spiritual world, there is another energy, the superior spiritual energy, or internal energy, known as Yogamaya. She also works under the Lord's direction, but in the spiritual world. When the living entity puts himself under the direction of Yogamaya instead of Mahamaya, he gradually becomes a devotee of Krishna. On the other hand, those who are after material opulence and material happiness place themselves under the care of the material energy, Mahamaya, or under the care of material demigods like Lord Shiva. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is found that when the gopis of Vrindavan desired Krishna as their husband, they prayed to the spiritual energy Yogamaya for the fulfillment of their desire. In the Saptashati, it is found that King Surata and a merchant named Samadhi, being under the modes of material nature, worshipped Mahamaya for material opulence. Thus, one should not mistakenly equate Yogamaya with Mahamaya. Because the Lord is on the absolute platform, there is no difference between the holy name of the Lord and the Supreme Lord himself. There are many different names for the Supreme Lord, such as Paramatma, the Supersoul, Brahman, the Supreme Absolute, Srishtikarta, the Creator, Narayana, the Transcendental Lord, Rukmini Ramana, the husband of Rukmini, Gopinath, the enjoyer of the gopis, and Krishna. In this way, the Lord has different names, and these names indicate different functions. The aspect of the Supreme Lord as the Creator is different from his aspect as Narayana. Some of the names of the Lord as the Creator are conceived by materialistic men. One cannot fully realize the essence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by understanding his name as the Creator, because this material creation is a function of the external energy of the Supreme Lord. Thus, the conception of God as the Creator includes only the external feature. Similarly, when we call the Supreme Lord Brahman, we cannot have any understanding of his 6 opulences. In Brahman realization, the 6 opulences are not realized in full, nor is there recognition of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. Therefore, Brahman realization is also not a complete understanding of the Supreme Lord, nor is Paramatma realization of the Supersoul, full realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For the all-pervading nature of the Supreme Lord is but a partial representation of his opulence. Even the transcendental relationship experienced by a devotee of Narayana in Vaikuntha is incomplete, because devotees in that relationship cannot realize the relationship between Krishna and his devotees in Goloka Vrindavan. The devotees of Krishna do not relish devotional service to Narayana because devotional service to Krishna is so attractive that Krishna's devotees do not desire to worship any other form. Thus, the gopis of Vrindavan do not like to see Krishna as Rukmini Ramana, the husband of Rukmini, nor do they address him by that name. In Vrindavan, Krishna is addressed as Radha Krishna, Krishna, the property of Radharani. Although the names Rukmini Ramana and Radha Krishna are on the same level in the ordinary sense, still, in the spiritual world, these names indicate different understandings of various aspects of Krishna's transcendental personality. If one equates the names Radha Ramana or Radha Krishna with Rukmini Ramana, Narayana, or any other name of the Supreme Lord, he commits the fault of overlapping tastes, which is technically called rasa bahasa. Those who are expert discriminating devotees do not accept such amalgamations which are against the conclusions of pure devotional service. Less intelligent men think such discrimination is bigotry. Although Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, embodies all super-excellence and beauty, when he is among the damsels of Vraj, where he is known as Gopijan Vallabha, devotees feel that his super-excellence and beauty have reached the highest perfectional stage. The devotees cannot relish the beauty of the Supreme Lord more than this. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33-6, it is confirmed that although Krishna, the son of Devaki, is the last word in super-excellence and beauty, when he is among the gopis, he appears even more beautiful, like a sublime jewel set among divine golden craftsmanship. Although Lord Caitanya accepted this as the highest realization of the Supreme Lord as conjugal lover, he nonetheless requested Ramananda Roy to proceed further. Upon hearing this request, Ramananda Roy remarked that this was the first time he had been asked to go further than the gopis' relationship with Krishna in the matter of understanding Krishna. Ramananda went on to say that although there is certainly transcendental intimacy between the damsels of Vraj and Krishna, out of all the relationships, the relationship between Radharani and Krishna out of all the relationships, the relationship between Radharani and Krishna in conjugal love is the most perfect. No common man can understand the transcendental flavor of the transcendental love between Krishna and the gopis, what to speak of the ecstasy of transcendental love between Krishna and Radharani. But if one tries to follow in the footsteps of the gopis, he may become situated in the highest stage of transcendental love. Thus, one who wants to be elevated to this transcendental stage of perfection should follow in the footsteps of the damsels of Vraj as an assistant maidservant of the gopis. Lord Caitanya exhibited the mood of Srimati Radharani when she contacted Krishna at Kurukshetra after he had come from Dwaraka. Such transcendental love is not possible for any common man. Therefore, one should not imitate this highest perfectional stage exhibited by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But if one desires to be in that association, he may follow in the footsteps of the gopis. In the Padma Purana, it is stated that just as Radharani is dear to Krishna, similarly, the pond known as Radha Kund is also very dear to him, and that Radharani is dearer to Krishna than all the other gopis. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10:30-28, it is also stated, that Radharani and the gopis render the highest perfectional loving service to the Lord, and that the Lord is so pleased with them that he does not wish to leave the company of Srimati Radharani. When Lord Caitanya heard Ramananda Roy speak of the loving affairs between Krishna and Radharani, he said, quote, "Please go further, go on and on," unquote. The Lord also said that he was enjoying with great relish the descriptions of the loving affairs between Krishna and the gopis. Quote, "It is as if a river of nectar is flowing from your lips," unquote, he said. Ramananda Roy continued by saying that when Krishna danced among the gopis, he thought, quote, "I am not giving any special attention to Radharani," unquote. Because among the other gopis, Radharani was not so much an object of special love, Krishna stole her away from the arena of the rasa dance and showed her special favor. After explaining this to Lord Caitanya, Ramananda Roy said, quote, "Now let us relish the transcendental loving affairs between Krishna and Radha. These have no comparison in this material world," unquote. Thus, Ramananda Roy continued by saying that during the rasa dance, Radharani suddenly left the arena as if she were angry that no special favor was being shown her. Krishna was desirous of seeing Radharani in order to fulfill the purpose of the rasa dance, but not seeing Radharani there, he became very sorrowful and went to search her out. In the Gita Govinda, there is a nice verse which states that Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, wanted to be entangled in loving affairs with women, and thus simply took Radharani into his heart and left the company of the other damsels of Vraj. The next verse describes how Krishna was very much afflicted by Radharani's absence, and being thus distressed in mind, began to search her out along the banks of the Jamuna. Failing to find her, he entered the bushes of Vrindavan and began to lament. Ramananda Roy pointed out that one who discusses the purport of these two special verses of the Gita Govinda, 3:1-2, can relish the highest nectar of Radha and Krishna's loving affairs. Although there were many gopis to dance with, Krishna especially wanted to dance with Radharani. In the rasa dance, Krishna expanded himself and placed himself between every two gopis, but he was especially present with Radharani. However, Radharani was not pleased with Krishna's behavior. As described in the Ujjvala Nilamani, quote, "The path of loving affairs is just like the movement of a snake. Among young lovers, there are two kinds of mentality, causeless and causal," unquote. Thus, when Radharani left the arena of the rasa dance out of anger at not receiving special treatment, Krishna became very sad because he could not see her among the other gopis. The perfection of the rasa dance was considered complete due to Radharani's presence, and in her absence, Krishna considered the dance to be disrupted. Therefore, he left the arena to search her out. When he could not find Radharani after wandering in several places, he became very distressed. Thus it is understood that Krishna could not enjoy his pleasure potency even in the midst of all the other gopis, but that in the presence of Radharani he was satisfied. When this transcendental love between Radharani and Krishna was described by Ramananda Roy, Lord Caitanya said, quote, "I came to you to understand the transcendental loving affairs between Radha and Krishna, and now I am very satisfied that you have described them so nicely. I can understand from your version that the highest loving state is that between Krishna and Radha," unquote. Yet Lord Caitanya still requested Ramananda Roy to explain something more. Quote, "What are the transcendental features of Krishna and Radharani, and what are the transcendental features of the reciprocation of their feelings, and what is the love between them? If you kindly describe all this to me, I will be very much obliged. Except for you, no one can describe such things," unquote. Quote, I do not know anything, Ramananda Roy replied in all humility. I am simply saying what you are causing me to say. I know that you are Krishna himself, yet still you are relishing hearing about Krishna from me. Therefore, please excuse me for my faulty expression. I am just trying to express whatever you are causing me to express. Unquote. Quote, I am a Mayavadi sannyasi, Lord Caitanya protested. I have no knowledge of the transcendental features of devotional service. By the greatness of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, my mind has become clear, and I am now trying to understand the nature of devotional service to Lord Krishna. The Bhattacharya recommended that I see you in order to understand Krishna. Indeed, he said that you are the only person who knows something about love of Krishna. Therefore, I have come to you upon the recommendation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Please, then, do not hesitate to relate to me all the confidential affairs between Radha and Krishna. Unquote. In this way, Lord Caitanya actually took the subordinate position before Ramananda Roy. This has very great significance. One who is serious about understanding the transcendental nature of Krishna should approach a person who is actually enriched with Krishna consciousness. One should not be proud of his material birth, material opulence, material education, and material beauty, and with these things try to conquer the mind of an advanced student of Krishna consciousness. One who thus goes to a Krishna conscious person thinking that he would be favorably induced is under a misconception about this science. One should approach a Krishna conscious person with all humility, put relevant questions to him, and not challenge him. If one were to challenge him, such a highly elevated Krishna conscious person would not be available to receive any tangible service. A challenging, puffed up person cannot gain anything from a Krishna conscious man. He simply remains in material consciousness. Although Lord Caitanya was born in a high Brahmin family and was situated in the highest perfectional stage of sannyas, he nonetheless showed by his behavior that even an elevated person would not hesitate to take lessons from Ramananda Roy, although Ramananda appeared as a householder situated in a social status beneath that of a Brahmin. Thus, Lord Caitanya clearly showed that a sincere student never cares whether his spiritual master is born in a high Brahmin family or Kshatriya family, or whether he is a high-grade sannyasi, a brahmachari, or whatever. Whoever can teach one about the science of Krishna is to be accepted as a guru.